shadow self. Why you hate in others what you deny in yourself. Have you ever met someone who irritated you almost instantly? Maybe they walked into a room, said only a few words, and something inside you immediately tightened. You couldn't explain it. They hadn't insulted you. They hadn't hurt you. Yet just being around them felt uncomfortable. Most people assume this feeling says something about the other person. But what if it says something about you? What if the people you dislike the most are not simply difficult people? What if they are mirrors? This idea is uncomfortable because it turns the spotlight away from everyone else and points it directly at us. It suggests that our strongest emotional reactions may reveal hidden parts of our own mind. Carl Jung called this hidden territory the shadow. And understanding it might completely change the way you see conflict, relationships, and even yourself. Because the greatest battles in your life may not be happening between you and other people. They may be happening inside your own unconscious. The strange thing about the shadow is that it isn't created overnight. It begins forming in childhood. Imagine a young child discovering the world. They laugh loudly. They cry without shame. They express anger freely. They ask strange questions. They explore every emotion without thinking twice. Then something begins to happen. Parents, teachers, friends, and society start sending messages. Don't be so emotional. Good boys don't cry. Nice girls don't get angry. Stop showing off. Be more polite. Don't be selfish. Little by little, the child learns a painful lesson. Some parts of me are accepted, others are not. The mind quickly adapts. The accepted traits become part of the identity. The rejected traits don't disappear. They are pushed into the unconscious. This hidden psychological basement is what Jung called the shadow. Most people imagine the shadow as something dark or evil, but that's only half the story. Yes, it contains rage, jealousy, greed, fear, cruelty, but it also contains confidence, creativity, passion, leadership, authenticity, even joy. Anything that your environment taught you to reject can become part of your shadow. That means some people don't hide their anger. They hide their kindness. Others don't suppress aggression. They suppress ambition. Some people are terrified of appearing weak. Others are terrified of appearing powerful. The shadow doesn't care whether a trait is good or bad. It only knows one thing. This part of you wasn't allowed. And whatever isn't allowed doesn't disappear. It waits. It grows. It influences your life from behind the scenes. Modern neuroscience offers an interesting parallel. Much of what our brain processes never reaches conscious awareness. Every second, millions of pieces of information are filtered automatically. Your conscious mind experiences only a tiny fraction of reality. The same happens psychologically. Countless emotions, desires, memories, and impulses remain outside awareness. Yet they continue affecting decisions, relationships, and behavior. You think you're making rational choices. Often, you're simply acting out unconscious patterns. This becomes especially obvious when another person triggers you. Notice something. Not every rude person makes you furious. Not every arrogant person bothers you. Not every successful person intimidates you. Certain people activate something specific, almost like they pressed a hidden button. Why? Because they touched your shadow. Projection is one of the most fascinating psychological mechanisms ever described. When the unconscious refuses to recognize something inside us, it often sees it outside instead. It's much easier to recognize pride in someone else than to admit our own. It's much easier to accuse others of manipulation than to examine how we manipulate people ourselves. It's much easier to condemn someone's selfishness than to confront our own hidden desire to put ourselves first. Projection protects the ego. It allows us to believe that the problem lives out there, not in here. Think about gossip for a moment. Why are people so fascinated by judging others? Because every judgment creates temporary distance between the conscious self and the shadow. As long as they're the arrogant one, I'm humble. As long as they're insecure, I'm confident. As long as they're selfish, I'm generous. The mind feels safer, but only temporarily, because whatever remains unconscious continues demanding attention. The philosopher Socrates once said that the unexamined life is not worth living. You might have added something else. The unexamined shadow ends up living your life for you. One of the greatest illusions people carry is believing they know themselves completely. They know their favorite color, their profession, their political opinions, their hobbies. But they don't know the unconscious forces quietly shaping every important decision. This is why intelligent people can repeatedly enter toxic relationships. Why kind people suddenly explode with uncontrollable anger. Why confident people secretly fear rejection. Why generous people sometimes resent everyone around them. The shadow isn't interested in logic. It's interested in balance. Whatever consciousness refuses to acknowledge, the unconscious eventually forces into experience. Sometimes gently, sometimes painfully. Ancient wisdom traditions expressed this idea symbolically. What you refuse to face eventually becomes your teacher. Not because the universe is punishing you, but because the mind constantly seeks wholeness. Jung didn't believe psychological health meant becoming perfect. He believed it meant becoming whole. And wholeness requires embracing both light and darkness. Imagine trying to walk while using only one leg. Impossible. Yet psychologically, millions of people attempt exactly that. They identify only with the qualities they admire. Everything else becomes an enemy. Eventually they begin seeing enemies everywhere. This explains why some people seem permanently offended. Every conversation becomes a battlefield. Every disagreement feels personal. Every confident person looks arrogant. Every vulnerable person looks weak. Every successful person seems lucky. Every attractive person seems superficial. They are not reacting to reality. They are reacting to their own unconscious. The world becomes a projection screen, and everyone else unknowingly plays characters inside a drama written long before they arrived. Perhaps the clearest example is envy. Almost nobody likes admitting they're envious. Instead, people say things like, they think they're better than everyone. They probably cheated. They don't deserve it. They just got lucky. Sometimes those statements are true. Often they aren't. Sometimes what hurts isn't the other person's success. It's the abandoned dream sleeping inside your own shadow. Seeing someone live boldly reminds you of the life you never allowed yourself to pursue. Seeing someone speak confidently reminds you of every time you stayed silent. Seeing someone create art reminds you of the creativity you buried years ago. The pain isn't caused by them. It's caused by the gap between who you are and who you might have become. This is why the shadow contains hidden gold. Many people assume shadow work is about confronting darkness. In reality, it's equally about recovering lost strengths. Sometimes your greatest gift is hiding in the exact quality you criticize most in others. The person you call too ambitious may be reflecting the ambition you were taught to suppress. The person you call attention-seeking may remind you of the authentic self you buried to gain acceptance. The person you label intimidating may simply possess the confidence you never gave yourself permission to develop. Every emotional trigger carries a question. Not, what is wrong with them? But, what is this reaction trying to show me about myself? That single question has the power to transform your life. The moment you stop asking, who is to blame? And begin asking, what is this revealing? Something profound begins to change. Your attention shifts. Instead of chasing enemies outside yourself, you begin exploring the landscape within. This is where real psychological growth starts. And it's also where most people turn back. Because meeting your shadow is rarely comfortable. It requires admitting things your ego has spent years trying to hide. It means accepting that you are capable of anger, even if you see yourself as peaceful. It means recognizing your desire for recognition, even if you've always called yourself humble. It means admitting that you sometimes enjoy feeling superior, even while criticizing arrogance in others. The ego wants certainty. The shadow demands honesty, and honesty is expensive. It costs the identity you've spent your whole life protecting. Neuroscience offers another fascinating insight here. The brain is constantly trying to preserve a coherent sense of self. Psychologists sometimes refer to this as self-consistency. Once you believe, I am a good person, your mind automatically filters information that supports this identity and resists information that threatens it. That's why criticism hurts so much. Not because the words themselves are painful, but because they shake the story you've built about who you are. The shadow lives exactly where that story begins to crack. Ironically, the people who insist they're always kind often have the greatest difficulty accepting their anger. The people who insist they're completely rational often struggle to recognize how deeply emotion drives their decisions. The people who constantly preach humility may secretly crave admiration more than anyone else. The unconscious always compensates for extremes. The more one side is exaggerated, the more strongly the opposite side waits beneath the surface. This is why Jung warned against identifying too strongly with any single image of yourself. The moment you say, "I could never do that," you should become curious. Because history has shown, again and again, that under the right circumstances, human beings are capable of far more than they imagine, both beautiful and terrible. This isn't a pessimistic view of human nature. It's a realistic one. Accepting your capacity for darkness doesn't make you dangerous. Ignoring it does. A person who knows they are capable of anger learns how to guide it. A person who believes they are incapable of anger is often controlled by it without realizing. The same is true for envy, fear, pride, control, even love. Anything unconscious eventually begins making decisions on your behalf. This is why ancient philosophers placed such importance on self-knowledge. Not because knowing yourself makes life easier, but because it makes your choices truly yours. Otherwise, you're simply following invisible forces while believing you're free. One of the greatest misunderstandings about shadow work is the belief that its purpose is to eliminate the shadow. That can never happen. The goal is integration. Think of an orchestra. If one instrument is silenced completely, the music loses depth. The shadow is part of the human orchestra. Without it, there's no wholeness. Courage without fear becomes recklessness. Kindness without boundaries becomes self-destruction. Confidence without humility becomes arrogance. Humility without confidence becomes invisibility. Psychological maturity is not choosing one side. It's learning when each part belongs. Jung called this process individuation. Not becoming someone else, becoming fully yourself. A self that no longer wastes enormous amounts of energy pretending certain emotions don't exist. A self that can look inward without immediately searching for excuses. A self that understands that every human being carries contradictions. And perhaps this is the most liberating realization of all. You don't have to become perfect. You only have to become conscious. Imagine how many conflicts would disappear if people paused before reacting. Instead of saying, "I hate that person," they might ask, "Why does this affect me so deeply?" Instead of assuming every uncomfortable emotion points outward, they might explore what it points toward inside themselves. Not every criticism is projection. Not every conflict comes from the shadow. Some people really are dishonest. Some relationships truly are unhealthy. Some boundaries absolutely need to be set. Shadow work isn't about becoming naive. It's about becoming honest enough to separate reality from projection, to know the difference between seeing another person clearly and seeing your own unconscious reflected back at you. That distinction changes everything, because once you begin recognizing your projections, you slowly recover pieces of yourself that were scattered throughout the world. The confidence you envied was always your own potential. The creativity you criticized was your forgotten gift. The freedom you secretly resented was the life you were afraid to live. Little by little, the energy you've been spending judging others returns to you, and something remarkable happens. The people who once triggered you begin losing their power, not because they changed, because you did. You no longer need them to carry the parts of yourself you've refused to acknowledge. The mirror stops feeling threatening. It simply becomes a mirror. Perhaps this is why the ancient inscription at the Temple of Apollo in Delphi simply read, "Know thyself." Not because self-knowledge is an intellectual achievement, but because without it, we spend our entire lives fighting reflections, believing they're enemies. The shadow is not your enemy. It is the forgotten half of your humanity, and the parts of yourself you've buried the deepest may contain exactly the strength you've been searching for all along. So the next time someone instantly irritates you, pause before judging them. Ask yourself one simple question. What part of myself have I just encountered? The answer may be uncomfortable, But it might also be the beginning of the most important conversation you'll ever have. Not with someone else, with yourself.